Live from New Delhi, you're watching DT India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US strikes Iran's 3 nuclear sites, Fordow, Natanz and Isfahan. Iran says US violated international law. President Trump, in address to nations, says Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely obliterated, warns Iran must now make peace.
There are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu hails Trump's bold decision. Israel raises nationwide alert levels. India's Operation Sindhu gains momentum. 1,117 Indian nationals evacuated from Iran so far. Sri Lanka and Nepal thank India for evacuating their nationals. The United States entered the Israel-Iran conflict by launching airstrikes on 3 of Iran's key nuclear facilities. American B-2 stealth bombers targeted Fordow, Natanz and a third site near Isfahan in an overnight operation. Still images released by the White House showed US President Trump and his group of advisors attending a meeting in the Situation Room on Saturday. Trump said US forces struck Iran's 3 principal nuclear sites, Natanz, Isfahan and Fordow. Following the strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites, US President Donald Trump addressed the nation on Sunday, calling it a spectacular military success. Trump said the US military conducted a very successful attack.
The US military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success.
Further, President said that the US operation marked the first direct American military involvement in Iran's ongoing conflict with Israel.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate, in particular.
President Trump also praised Israel and its leadership for joint coordination.
Thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades.
Issuing a final warning to Tehran, Trump said if peace does not come quickly, they will go after those other targets with precision, speed and skill.
There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left, but if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes.
All right, and DD India's Nandita Dagar joins us live. Hi, Nandita. Can you just analyze the current situation when it comes to Iran-Israel conflict? US has now officially entered into the conflict, and with President Trump addressing the nation saying that it's a spectacular military success and very successful attack.
Yes, hi Siddharth. Even though the US was not involved directly, we all know that it was the US with whose blessings and with whose go-ahead or green light the Israelis launched that attack on Iran, which was an unprovoked attack on Iran about 8 days back. That is last Friday. And the US was providing all logistical support. We even know that there were 4 shipments of ammunition and weapons which have reached Tel Aviv from Washington. This operation, of course, Israel had been seeking the help of America for the past 1 week because it is these specific munitions, which is the known as the massive ordnance penetration, which is MOP, which are GBU 57 bombs, and they can target the underground facilities of the Fordo nuclear plant. Now we know that the Israelis have been targeting with their missiles and drones several facilities, the nuclear facilities, that there are 6 nuclear facilities inside Iran. At least that is known by the IAEA.
Okay.
Fordo is the one which is more than 80-90 meters deep inside beneath the mountains, and that is why it was beyond the capability of the Israelis to target that. That is why they were seeking the assistance of the Americans. And even though Prime Minister Trump had said that he would make a decision within 2 weeks, he kept the world guessing. And this attack on Iran, of course, is a big blow to its centrifuges used for enrichment of uranium in Fordo and Natanz, as well as its 400 kgs of enriched fuel in Isfahan. We can now see that Iran, of course, has threatened retaliation to the Americans also, as the Ayatollah Khomeini had promised that if the US gets directly involved, there are about 40,000 US personnel all across the Middle East and in the Gulf deployed on US bases. They are now not safe, although the US President Trump has also warned the Iranians that more firepower will be unleashed on them if they retaliate. Of course, Iran continues to come under the bombardment and missile fire of the Israelis. Iran is also retaliating by firing long-range ballistic missiles. The Israelis, of course, have that Iron Dome air defense shield, which includes this Iron Dome missiles, the Arrow missiles, the David Sling missiles. They are intercepting. Their interceptors are also getting depleted. It is believed that their inventory is getting depleted, as are the Iranians, because the Iranians have sustained massive damage on their air defense launchers, as well as their surface-to-air missile launchers on the ground, as in the first wave of attacks we saw.
All right, Nandita, this is a developing situation. We'll keep taking updates from you. Thank you so much for this wonderful analysis by you. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu congratulated US President Donald Trump after the American president said the US military bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. In his address, Netanyahu said Trump's decision to strike Iran will change history.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other country on earth could do. History will record that President Trump acted to deny the world's most dangerous regime the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. President Trump and I often say, peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
In his first public remarks after the US strikes, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has accused US of breaching international law. The Iranian Araghchi said in a social media post, and I quote, "The United States, a permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, has committed a grave violation of the UN Charter, international law and the NPT by attacking Iran's peaceful nuclear installations. The events this morning are outrageous and will have everlasting consequences. Each and every member of the UN must be alarmed over the extremely dangerous, lawless and criminal behavior." He added that Iran reserves all options to defend its sovereignty, interest and people. All right, and DD India's Vinod Kumar joins us from West Asia. Vinod, how does the escalation by the US threaten to widen the crisis in the region?
See, the risk of a full-scale regional war in West Asia is growing rapidly as the tensions between Iran, Israel, and the United States is growing. Last time such an escalation happened was in January 3rd of 2020 when United States killed Qasem Soleimani, the Major General of Iran. And if you take a leaf out of history, that time we can see that Iran retaliated by attacking the United States base in Iraq. 2 of their bases were destroyed infrastructurally, but there were no casualties. That's how that was de-escalated and the peace returned. But this time, this escalation is on a different level. Iran's nuclear facility has been attacked. So there are many options in front of Iran how to retaliate. Iran boasts a significant artillery capacity in terms of missile. Today morning, as a retaliation, Iran has used its Khyber missile, intermediate ballistic range missile. They have used a Sejil missile. They have used the Dancing missile, which can evade. They have used cluster munitions against Israel. So at this point, Israel is the one which is at the maximum threat because it comes directly under the firepower of Iran. And we have reports saying that the David Sling, the Iron Dome, and the Arrow 3 are getting depleted of its interceptors. And today morning itself, there were many hits in Israel. And second, Iran can also do asymmetric warfare. It has an extensive network of proxy groups by the name of Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, and various other militias in Iraq. So it can do asymmetric warfare. We can refer to the history books how this asymmetric warfare have grown into major catastrophes in this region. And this fallout will not be limited to the battlefield. Economic disruption on a global scale can also be a near certainty because Iran has been threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. It's a jugular artery for the world trade. 20%, 30% of the world oil flows through this particular Strait of Hormuz, and 20 million barrels of oil. And this will directly affect countries like India also. If this particular vital artery is choked, then definitely the oil prices will soar. The last time the oil prices touched was on the global financial crisis at $150 per barrel. If such a choke point is enforced by Iran, this can well breach that amount. Already Goldman Sachs have incorporated a risk premium of $10 even before this attacks. Now as the trading happens, we can see that it will definitely go beyond $95. And this will also create inflation, stagflation and other economic fallouts in the entire region. Then the next major thing, the humanitarian fallout. West Asia has been in a humanitarian dire situation for many decades, and it can become severe, and there can be sectarial radicalization between the groups. There are various factions. There are Hamas, there are Shias, there are Sunnis, and this will definitely, once asymmetric warfare starts, this will definitely radicalize the various factions that is operating in this region. And mass civilian casualties can be expected. The countries which are caught in the crossfire will expect a lot of civilian deaths. And there are also concerning conflict. It could erode the international norms, just like as you mentioned, the Iranian foreign minister has told that it is in clear violation of NPT. So such an attack and a retaliation from Iran can definitely erode the current international norms, the norms of diplomacy and the Vienna Convention. That are the main.
Yes, please, Vinod, you were saying something.
Yeah, these are the main aspects of the fallout that can happen, because in history we do not have many instances where a nuclear facility, a peaceful nuclear facility has been attacked. And Fordo nuclear base is one such base which is far beyond the capacity of Israel to attack. Israel has GBU 28 and 37 bunker busting bombs, but US has to intervene because United States had something called GBU 57. This is the first time that such a bomb is being used. Just like Nandita Dagar mentioned, that Fordo enrichment facility is deep beneath a mountain in Qom, which is well beyond well beyond the capacity of the Israeli bunker buster bombs, well beyond 90 meters. This is a massive ordnance penetrator, GB-57, used for the first time in the entire history of humankind, which can penetrate up to 60 meters. And we do not know how much destruction has taken in Fordo. And if such a destruction happened in peaceful areas, then definitely there is a risk of nuclear radiation contamination leak in Strait of Hormuz as well.
Okay, Vinod, you are actually right. I second you in that all eyes right now are on the Strait of Hormuz. It's sort of a 100-kilometer stretch. Do you think, as far as the current situation is concerned, then Iran will put a pause when it comes to Strait of Hormuz? Although they have said that they are not interested in negotiations with the United States till the time the conflict is going on. What are the options available for Iran now?
See, let's take a leaf out of the history again. The Iraq-Iran war happened in the 1980s. That time, Iran has blockaded the Strait of Hormuz, and they have mined that entire area. So at that time, US came with an operation called Operation Earnest Will, in which United States, NAV sent escorted the Kuwaiti tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. And that time also there was an escalation, and fortunately that escalation came to an end after the Iraqi invasion is over. Now the situation is far different at this time. There is also a pertinent chance of aviation incidents. Because of this war here, the entire airspace is getting closed, flights are getting cancelled. Again, taking a leaf out of history, in 1988, I believe there was a hijack of TWA flight from Cairo to San Diego, in which the Hezbollah, the proxy arm of Iran, hijacked, and they used that as a belief to bargain with the United States. So these are the asymmetric options that Iran has. And when it comes to Strait of Hormuz, why I consider that it is not plausible for Iran to blockade the Strait of Hormuz, because of the presence of the US 5th Fleet in Manama, and the US carrier strike group Nimitz is already in its route to the West Asian waters. We do not know where exactly it is. Because of this presence of the large naval presence of US NavCent, I do not think so. It is very easy for Iran to enforce a blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, but definitely mining will be an option. And it is not very easy to intercept a hypersonic missile which is coming to a ship. So we have to watch and see how the Iranian will retaliate on this.
Vinod, as far as you've analyzed the entire situation, I want to ask you that now that US has officially entered the conflict, do you think that it's a strategy so that Iran could, get back to United States when it comes to the negotiation on the table?
See, as per the reports and as per what Donald Trump told, he gave 60 days of pause for Iran, and on the 61st day they attacked. There was already a scheduled meeting on last Sunday between Iran and Israel in Oman. In between that, this attack of Israel had happened in June 12th. So that almost negates the chances of diplomacy entering into the fray. Currently, what US will be weighing in this West Asia is to support Israel and to enforce its hegemony. Or this is the first time that we are seeing a peaceful nuclear plant is being attacked. So this is an unprecedented act in history. Iran definitely has its own agenda in developing a nuclear weapon. That will be an existential threat to Israel. So basically, it is real politics and geopolitical power play at play, what we can see right now. Diplomacy definitely has its own role, but I think Iran will not revert to diplomacy until there is a stop on these attacks. And we need something as a breakup. In 2020, when there was an attack on Iran, Iran retaliated with its attack on US bases in Iraq. But at that time, only the infrastructure was lost. There was no loss of humans. US take that as a pause for the hostilities, and that is how the hostilities of 2020 was contained. But this time, this is an attack on a nuclear facility. It is unprecedented. Only time will tell what will happen.
Definitely. Vinod, wonderful analysis there. And since this is developing, we'll keep taking updates from you. Thank you so much as of now. Israel's military said on Sunday it had detected 2 waves of missiles fired from Iran as air raid sirens rang out in Tel Aviv and explosions in fact rocked Jerusalem. The Israeli military in a statement said that sirens sounded in several areas across Israel following the identification of missiles launched from Iran toward the state of Israel. The Israeli military meanwhile said it launched a fresh series of strikes on Sunday targeting military targets including missile launchers in western Iran after the United States attacked the country's nuclear sites. It further said the Israeli Air Force is operating to intercept and strike where necessary to eliminate the threat. The statement also added that the Israeli Air Force had struck missile launchers ready to launch toward Israeli territory. Soldiers in the Iranian armed forces and swiftly neutralized the launchers that launched missiles toward Israeli territory. Israel has meanwhile closed its airspace for all flights. However, land crossings with Egypt and Jordan will remain open till further orders. A short while ago, Israeli Air Force aircraft struck 2 F-5 fighter jets belonging to the Iranian armed forces at the Day's Full airport in Iran. Additionally, in strikes that were conducted earlier this morning, 8 launchers were neutralized, including 6 launchers ready to immediately launch missiles toward Israeli territory. Earlier on Saturday, approximately 20 IAF fighter jets struck dozens of military targets in Iran following the precise direction of the IDF Intelligence Directorate. Among the targets struck were a military site containing components to produce explosive materials, weapons storage and production facilities, and Iranian aerial defense systems. Additionally, the IDF struck military infrastructure sites at the Isfahan airport in order to prevent the Iranian Air Force's use of the military infrastructure. The reaction of world leaders after US forces struck 3 Iranian nuclear sites on Sunday, Iran time ranged from Israel lauding President Donald Trump's decision to the UN calling for de-escalation and some countries condemning the attacks. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is describing the US attacks on Iran as a dangerous escalation, warning that the conflict in the West Asia could quickly get out of control. The UN chief in a social media post said, and I quote, "I am gravely alarmed by the use of force by the United States against Iran today. This is a dangerous escalation in a region already on the edge and a direct threat to international peace and security." He further stated, there is a growing risk that this conflict could rapidly get out of control with catastrophic consequences for civilians, the region and the world. The UN chief called on member states to de-escalate and to uphold their obligations under the UN Charter and other rules of international law. He said, at this perilous hour, it is critical to avoid a spiral of chaos. There is no military solution. The only path forward is diplomacy. The only hope is peace. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer urged Iran to return to the negotiating table and said that stability in the region remained a priority. According to a statement from Downing Street on Sunday, the UK PM said, Iran's nuclear program is a grave threat to international security. The statement further added that Iran can never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon and the US has taken action to alleviate the threat. The International Atomic Energy Agency said on Sunday that there has been no increase in off-site radiation levels after US airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites. The UN watchdog in a social media post stated that IAEA can confirm that no increase in off-site radiation levels has been reported as of this time. It further said that the UN Nuke Agency will provide further assessments on situation in Iran as more information becomes available. UN nuclear watchdog chief Rafael Grossi said on Sunday he was calling an emergency meeting of IAEA on Monday. In a post, Grossi said, and I quote, "In light of the urgent situation in Iran, I am convening an emergency meeting of the International Atomic Energy Agency Board of Governors for tomorrow." IAEA chief Grossi said on X. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.